On today's program, former host Ray Campbell is planting a fall vegetable garden. Former host Steve Owens is in Tulsa to take a look at the exciting new projects at the Tulsa Botanic Garden. And Barbara Brown prepares a peach and mango salsa. Oklahoma Gardening is a production of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the land grant mission of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University, dedicated to improving the quality of life of the citizens of Oklahoma through research-based information. Underwriting assistance is provided by TLC, Oklahoma's leading garden center, Southwood Landscape and Nursery, Tulsa's source for great gardens, and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing.
Most of us here in Oklahoma recently have been experiencing near triple-digit temperatures and really bright, sunny days that really has kind of taken a toll on the summer garden this year. However, as the summer garden begins to wane and begins to go out, we now need to start thinking about some things in the fall garden. It's not too late to plant some of those quick maturing summer crops or warm season crops, but now it's also the time to start preparing the soil and planting some of our cool season crops that will be coming on when we have the milder days and the milder nights, lower humidity, and we can have some really good quality fall vegetables, particularly the leafy green vegetables and some of the root crops. So that's what I'm doing today, planting in my garden. I'm planting both. I'm planting some potatoes, some beans, some squash, some late cucumbers, and also some early planting of some fall leafy vegetables. As you notice, I've got my soil here, and this is where I'm planting lettuce and carrots today. I've got my soil really cooled off if as much as I can, because that's usually the big enemy of planting some of these fall vegetables is the soil temperatures. The soil temperatures can reach close to 140 degrees this time of the year, and so that's just going to be detrimental to these little seed. So I've come in and I've put a lot of mulch. I've got organic mulches, both compost as well mixed with cottonseed hulls, and I've layered about an inch and a half on top of my soil, and I'm going to make a row into that about an inch and a half deep, right about as deep as that mulch is. And then after I make my little row, I'm going to pack it down a little bit, because this will allow me then just to distribute my seed, my lettuce seed or my carrot seed or whatever little seed I want to, right on the top of that packed mulch, and then I'll come in and kind of gently cover it about 1/4 inch deep so that I don't get it covered too deep. Now what I've done, I've prepared really this soil the night before. If you come out the evening before you want to plant and open up the soil beds, water it down very good, it will cool that temperature down. And so if you feel the soil temperature today, it is really quite cool compared to the soil would have been had I not done that. So now that I've got my beds prepared, let me give you a little bit of tip now as I walk around the other side and start some seeding of my crops. I think it's a good idea if you try to soak your seed overnight. And on mine, I actually have soaked them in the refrigerator in a cool location, because it's not only cool the seed, but it's also allowed them to get a little start on germination through that soaking process. I've got several types of lettuce today, and we'll be planting in this row a lettuce, butter crunch lettuce. I put my label down so I'm sure that I don't forget what it is when I'm beginning to thin or beginning to work on that. Because I have put my seed in water overnight and soaked it, it's kind of difficult to deal with. So I have me a paper towel and a small strainer. I'll just pour that through there. That will get rid of all the water. dump those seed in, and then I will take the other side of the paper towel over and press it well. That will take some of the moisture out and just makes it much easier then to handle the seed. It'll dry the seed out a little bit so they don't stick to your fingers quite as bad. And then I can either gently scatter them along like this, or another way I found that it works very well is just to brush them off the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this little bed up. I'm going to plant several varieties of lettuce today. I'm going to plant some carrots today. I'm going to save a few rows to later on come in and plant some radish and some probably some turnips or mustard greens of some kind, because those can be planted all the way up until about the middle of September, whereas these need to be coming in before the 1st of September. Notice I've also serpentined a soaker hose on my bed, and after I finish planting, I will mist the bed with water so I can kind of press those seed into the soil with the water, and then put a row cover over it to protect it from the heat and the extreme temperatures. So I think I'll have a really good stand of these leafy green vegetables before too long, and in a way I get a little sense of I guess satisfaction in thinking that I may have fooled Mother Nature a little bit, making the plants feel, maybe I fool the plants, making them think that it's spring instead of fall, or at least instead of the end of the summertime. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish planting these. I've got several varieties of lettuce here. I've got some carrots. I've got a few rows I'm just going to save and plant later, some radishes and perhaps some mustard greens or some turnips or something like that, because they can go in later, maybe even to the middle of September, whereas these that I'm planting today really need to be in by the end of August. And then after I get through planting, we'll go ahead and cover it over with my row cover, or at least mist them in, cover it with my row cover, and then turn on my soaker hose so that I can keep it moist throughout the germination process. When I'm using a soaker hose such as this, I always am cautious of how much pressure from the water comes through these little soaker hoses, because it is just a little soaker hose and water is meant to just barely ooze out. So I like to use a pressure reducer valve. These are available anywhere they sell drip irrigation or trickle irrigation. You know, this right here will reduce the pressure to at least 50 pounds or less at your faucet. So that's always a good idea to do that, is to have a pressure reducer valve on your soaker hose before you use those. It just keeps it from popping out a lot on you. Some of the vegetables we can still grow in the fall garden at this time of the year also are some of the sharp maturing warm season vegetables. And so I'm also today planting, in addition to some cool season crops that I've gotten started, I'm also planting some warm season crops. And one of the things we can grow is are potatoes. It's not too late to plant potatoes if you get them in by the end of August. But the most limiting factor with potatoes, next to the high soil temperatures, probably is the availability of seed pieces. You don't want to use those seeds, potatoes from the grocery store, because those often sprout erratically. They don't produce good quality potatoes, and they're just not recommended for use as seed potatoes. And of course, seed potatoes are difficult to find this time of the year. Occasionally, I've actually held over some seed potatoes from the spring in a refrigerated area for the fall, but I'm also using some potatoes that I actually dug this spring. If your potatoes have been dug for 6 to 8 weeks, and they've been in a dry, warm place, and you're beginning to see some of the little eyes beginning to enlarge, you know that you can go ahead and replant those. And so that's what I've done. I've picked some of my better potatoes from the spring, cut those into about an inch, about an ounce or an ounce and a half size seed piece, and I've allowed those actually to dry. They should be allowed to dry or cure in a cool location for about 3 to 5 days. So I've had these pieces in the house under where it's been air conditioned for about 4 days now, and you can see that they have begun to kind of what we call suberize or dry out a little bit. I don't want to use those though, however, that I've scarred or that I've damaged in the digging process, and because those are going to begin to rot very easily if you use those. So choose some of your better potatoes and some of your potatoes that you can get some fairly large pieces from. I prepared my soil the evening before. by watering it down very well, digging a deep trench, and putting the water into the trench as well, just to cool that soil down considerably. And then I'm planting early in the morning. And I will put those seed pieces cut side down into the soil like that. And then before I cover those over with soil, like I've already done in a couple of rows here, I'm going to give them a little bit further protection from the high soil temperatures by layering a couple of inches or maybe 1.5 inches of good quality straw, weed-free straw, on top of those, and then cover them over with the soil in a little bit of a mound, and then that way that will give them extra protection from the hot sun. I've also gone ahead and already planted beans, which can still be planted till the end of August. These are the bush beans, Blue Lake bush bean. I soaked those overnight. I've also planted some squash and some cucumber that also can be planted this late in the year, and have soaked those seed overnight as well. Note what I have done on this is on the squash and the beans and the cucumbers, I've made the hole or the planting row just a little bit deeper than I normally would, and I will cover that lightly and leave just a little bit of a side on the edge of the row, because that in itself is going to give some protection from the afternoon sun as well. Then I'm going to come in and mulch this entire bed with straw or some sort of a light organic mulch, so that it will give it further protection from the heat, and then water it down very well.
Today we've come over to Tulsa to take a look at a relatively new public garden. This is the Tulsa Botanic Garden. And here to tell us a little bit about it is the director, Mr. Todd Lassane. Hey Todd, welcome to the show.
Hey Steve, thank you for coming here. We're glad to have you coming down from Stillwater to see us in Tulsa.
Excited to take a look around.
Yeah.
Well Todd, this site was designated as the Tulsa Botanic Garden a while back, maybe 10 years ago. But recently, you guys have really started to get things going here. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on here at the garden?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. Well, you know, when we got the site, Steve, it was 170 acres of land that was donated. Amazing gift. And great to have it, but then we had to bring all the utilities over. And so we were dealing with 2.5 mile long water mains, 1 mile long electric mains. We've gotten all that done, and now we're starting our first gardens. So we've had to raise some money, but the community's really come through for us, and so you're starting to see the fruits of all those labors.
All right, lots of new construction projects,
Yeah.
And you guys had to do a big master plan to figure out what all you were going to do here.
Yeah, absolutely. We decided that this was a big enough project we needed to hire some professionals, so we brought in a team of designers from around the country with international and local experience, and we came up with what we think is a compelling plan for the next 25 years to develop a world-class public garden.
Okay, it looks like kind of the central element is going to be this big lake out here. So this was a lot of work, I guess, moving all this soil and...
Yeah, this lake has been here since 2008. This was a project from the Oklahoma Centennial Commission, which we are deeply appreciative of the recognition and funding we got from that. So it's a 7-acre water body, and believe it or not, it's 80 feet deep at the south end there. So
wow,
it's a big one.
Okay, so you guys were able to kind of take some of that soil and use it for other areas.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know you guys are open to the public now, and
Yes.
some folks are coming out, but it's not every day.
Not yet. So right now we're open on Fridays and Saturdays for the rest of time, I guess, and we'll be opening probably a few more days this fall as we grand open our first garden, and next year we'll get as close as we can to being open every day of the week.
Okay, when there's a little bit more to see,
Absolutely.
you guys will be open a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I see some construction off in the distance here. We can hear some
Sure.
machinery
Yeah.
working. Let's go take a look at what
Sure.
that's going to be.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Okay, Todd, we've donned our safety vests and our hard hats here.
Got
and making sure the people running the equipment can see us.
Yeah.
Lots of work here, Todd. What what is this area going to be?
Well, this is the A.R. and Mary Louise Tandy Floral Terraces. This is our flower garden. It's going to be an amazing garden with not only a big central swath of color and this grand water feature that comes down the hill, drops 30 feet total, but on the sides of it, each terrace has its own identity. So we're standing here on the rose terrace, which is going to have roses interplanted with other shrubs. Then there's the perennial terrace based upon Miss Jekyll's color scheme, which you know from our Victorian lessons, right? And then the upper one will be the Mediterranean terrace, which will have dry loving plants from the Mediterranean proper, western Oklahoma, maybe even down into Arizona and Mexico.
Wow, it's going to be really colorful.
It's going to, yeah, it's our flower garden. It better be, right?
All
or
right.
I'm in trouble.
Okay, well, I love the water features and just this pattern of all the stone and the concrete.
Thank you.
Now, you were telling me earlier this brown sandstone. You guys didn't have to go very far to find that.
We only have to go 12 inches deep. So, believe it or not, there's a ton of stone, this beautiful Osage sandstone, and we decided to incorporate it into our walls. There's over 600 feet of walls here. We didn't have to buy a single piece of sandstone to make them.
Wow.
So it's an amazing use of a local material.
Yeah, you guys are very resourceful.
Yeah.
Starting to get a few plants in here.
Yes, yes. So, you know, when you're lining this kind of central corridor with the water feature, we wanted to keep the plantings a little simple and more formal, so we've done some yopons. Of course, we have the golden sweet flag, a chorus, and we have some clethras, or summer sweet, which I think will do well here. And they get a little shade from the afternoon sun by the concrete walls, so we think it'll make a nice show.
Well, Todd, I think it's going to be outstanding. What is the projected date that you think this whole thing will be finished and planted?
We're going to open this on October 3rd and 4th to the public.
Of this year?
Of this year. Can you believe
All right.
it? I know, we got a lot of work.
Well, Todd, I see some more construction going on way over there. What's that garden going to be?
Yeah, I wasn't busy enough with one project, so we decided to do two. So that's the Children's Discovery Garden. And that's going to be our project that's going to open next spring. What they're building there is kind of one of the main features. He's going to be a concrete sculpture, kind of a cast stone look, and he's going to be called the Spring Giant. Okay. And a really cool feature, and there's a stream element coming out of it, and then there's a prairie-like element we call the meadow. It's going to be a really exciting space.
Okay, well, I know children's gardens are very popular at public gardens and botanic gardens all around the country.
Yes.
You guys are going to have some great elements in there, and I can't wait to see that when it's finished. Do you have a projected date maybe on that one?
We're shooting for May. We'll announce a more specific date soon, but May is the date right now.
So Todd, what have we got going on in this area?
Well, this is our area where we're mixing all of our soil for the floral terraces. You know, we decided to use a predetermined soil mix where we're using sand, 60% mixed with some of our topsoil, 40%. And then we kind of take that and we actually dilute that down with some organic matter, which is a really good leaf compost we're getting locally. And that's going to grow our plants because, you know, that's a flower garden, so there's no room for error. I know you know that. If this was just the native plant garden or something, not a problem. We just use the sites we have. But we want to make sure that our flower bulb displays and everything else looks top notch. Okay. So we're going to go the extra mile.
All right, sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And once this area, looks like it's kind of graded off and somewhat flat. Once this is done, you have plans for this site as well?
Actually, we do. This area happens to be one of the flattest parts, and we're going to build a multi-purpose building back here that serves both the children's garden and some future growth, and it's going to be called the Round Barn, and it takes its inspiration from the one, of course, on Route 66 in Arcadia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that either. This is truly going to be a spectacular garden.
Well, thanks. You know, we just finished raising the money for this project for the Round Barn, so it's coming. We're hiring architects right now, and we're going to be moving forward.
Okay, sounds great, Todd. Well, I see a big grove of trees up here on the hill, and you guys have plans for that area as well.
That's our persimmon grove. We should go take a look.
All right. Well, Todd, we've got a huge grove of persimmons here on the hill. What are you guys going to do with this place?
Well, this is our natural persimmon grove. It's about 100 years old, and we decided it's such a beautiful area, we're going to make our native plant garden for Oklahoma all around it. And it's going to be called the Oklahoma Garden. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that one. when we're getting around to it. So yeah.
Sounds great. And the persimmons are, of course, kind of a thicket of one organism. Is that right?
Yeah, it's one grove, almost like an aspen grove in the Rocky Mountains would do. This one happens to be a male clone, but he's got a bunch of females around him, so I think he's pretty happy.
All right, going to see some fruit popping up maybe maybe in those areas.
Yes.
Well, Todd, you've shown us some great projects, and I am so impressed with the progress that's going on here. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be just a world-class garden. And it's going to be wonderful to see in a few years. I know it takes some money to get all of this going, and you guys have a campaign to make this happen.
We're currently in the final years of raising $17 million for our first phase of development. We cannot say enough about the tremendous support we've had from the community. And obviously people give to things that they want to support, but we've been so blessed by all the folks coming forward to help us out.
Okay, well, it's like I said, it's just going to be just a tremendous garden, and this fall for the terraces.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. It's going to be great to see all that color.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Todd, thank you for sharing the garden with us, and can't wait to see more of it.
Absolutely, thank you, sir.
Everybody likes salsa, but most of us, when we think of salsa, we think of either tomatoes or tomatillos, but you can make salsa out of so many other things too. So today I'm making a peach mango salsa, and we're going to start with 2 cups of fresh peaches. Now, fresh vegetables here are definitely going to be the way you want to go. They're going to give you a lot more flavor. If it was dead winter and you just had frozen, maybe, but right now definitely go with the fresh. So we're going to dice them up. So they'd be about the size that you would want on a chip or a little biteful, because we're mixing it with lots of other things too. Then I have 1 mango. Did the same thing here. Got it off the pit and diced it up. Very pretty and very nice. Now, one of the things that I want you to do as you're doing this kind of thing is think about the flavors of the foods that you're putting in. So don't just say, oh, it's 2 peaches, and pick up 2 peaches, slice and dice and put them in. Make sure you take time to smell that peach, taste that peach, make sure that is it sweet, is it tart, is it overripe, is it too soft, because you can adjust recipes to deal with several of those things, but not if you don't know what you're working with. So always taste these ingredients. If it's safe to eat, then you should taste it before you put it in. Also going to put in 1 jalapeno pepper. And you can adjust heat here by ramping up the heat on this, or you can take it down by switching to a milder flavored pepper. I've got a 1/2 cup of diced red onion. And I'm trying to get them all, as you're doing these dice, try to get them all about the same size. I know the peaches and the mangoes are larger, but the rest of it, it's kind of nice if they're a similar size. And then again, a 1/2 cup of red bell pepper. And again, we want color. We eat with our eyes as much as we do with our mouths and our noses. So look for ways to get contrasting colors, contrasting textures as you're doing this. I've got a 1/4 cup of cilantro. If you're not a cilantro person, I understand. You could use flat leaf parsley if you chose. You could use basil if you would rather. And then also to this, I'm going to add 1 or 2 cloves of garlic, depending on their size and your like of garlic. 3 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. Now this could be lime juice. If you've got limes in the kitchen, feel free to use them. Remember to taste it as you add it, however. Limes and lemons don't always have the same strength. Some are sweeter. So before you stir it in, taste it, see if it's exceptionally tart. And then as you stir it in, taste it and see if it's the point where you want it to be. Do I need less lime juice before you stir it all in? Also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Now we want the flavors on this to blend together. So what you would do if you were doing this at home and had plenty of time would be to cover it and let it set for at least 30 minutes. If you're going to give it the 30-minute set, then it doesn't have to be in the refrigerator. If you're going to leave it longer than that, you're going to want to put it in the refrigerator. Keep in mind that some of these ingredients, we put in some acid to help keep the peaches from turning dark. If you want to cut them up ahead of time, you can put a little bit of that lemon juice or lime juice on the peach, cover it tightly, and put it in the refrigerator so that you can come in and mix it up closer to the time you're going to want it. We'll assume 30 minutes have now transpired. And I've got 1 avocado. And this gives it a creaminess. Again, we're looking for those contrasts in flavors and contrasts in texture. This also gives it some healthy fats. Very often we say all fats are bad. Avocados definitely don't fall in that category. You might want to let this one set just a little while before you actually go ahead and serve it. Often salsa, bowl of chips, nothing wrong with that. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. I've got a piece of fish, and we're going to put some of this great salsa over a piece of fish. You could also put it over chicken or pork. So there's lots of things that you can do with this that don't involve any kind of a tortilla. I hope you'll give this one a try. It's peach and mango salsa for Oklahoma Gardening. I'm Barbara Brown.
Next week, former host Brenda Sanders has tips for buying, dividing, and planting bulbs. We travel to the Oklahoma City National Memorial, where Extension turfgrass specialist Dennis Martin shows us how they keep the lawn area at the memorial both beautiful and functional. Former host Ray Campbell is back with advice on summer cleanup of our flower beds. And Barbara Brown will have a tasty recipe. Join us then for more TV you'll grow to love. To find out more information about show topics, as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure and visit our website, oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. And we always have great information, answers to questions, photos, and gardening discussions on your favorite social media as well. Join in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows, as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater jewel. We wish to thank our generous underwriters, TLC Garden Centers, Southwood Landscape and Garden Center, and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. Additional support is provided by Pond Pro Shops, Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, and the Oklahoma Horticultural Society.